We got some announcements on the back there. Your church donations are up in the front lobby if you haven't picked them up yet. They're on the table and on the welcome table. Also, there's a men's breakfast on January 29th. Morgan has started a church directory of phone numbers, so see her and she's trying to get the information together, and we're gonna distribute those. Also, small groups are. Tree Paul, you also started this week, right? Yeah. There's a small group on Thursday night starting at the Gidry's house. And there's also the one on Sunday nights that meet here at 5:30. So get plugged into those. And if those aren't two good nights for you, come see us, talk to one of the elders, and we'll try to set one up to kind of work around our schedule. We're trying to put those back into place. We don't do Sunday school here. That's just another way we can invite people into our homes. We feed, we have meals, we hang out. It's a good time of fellowship. Also, a prayer meeting on Wednesday night, corporate prayer meeting on Wednesday night at 6:30, right here. With that said, there's a little detachment. If you're a first-time visitor or you need a prayer request, fill that out, put your prayer request on there, and put it in the thing. We'd love to pray for you if you can't make it. Or if you want more information on the church, just on the back side of that, also fill that. So I think that's all the announcements for today. Hang around, we're going to be doing at the end of the service, we're going to be doing Stephen Plager has been offered to join the elder board, and he has accepted, and there was no objection, so we will do an elder board ceremony after the service, so just immediately following that, I'll stay in here, we'll do that. We're going to be in Nehemiah chapter 8, we're going to finish up chapter 8 today. If you're a first-time visitor, I like going through books of the Bible. I like to start on one book and just work all the way through it. It helps me preach. It's just the way I like to preach. We go verse by verse. It makes us cover areas that we don't normally would cover, because I would cover some of the topics that pop up. So we cover those, and that's how we do it here. With that said, Nehemiah is a great book. It's we've been going through it for a while, so we should get you caught up. Starts off this guy, he's just a guy, working a job in the capital city of the Persian Empire, about 200 miles from Jerusalem. God burdens in his heart for his capital city, for the city of Jerusalem, his birthplace. It's been in ruins for 141 years, the walls are broken down, the city's been pretty much evacuated. They've been a couple of trying to resurgence of building the city back up that's been kind of squashed. Nehemiah burdened his heart. He comes in, prays for 3 or 4 months, gets an opportunity to go in front of the king, and by the grace of God, the king's hand, God's upon the king, gives Nehemiah permission to go to the city, takes his journey, rebuilds the city walls now in 52 days. This is a circumference of about 3 miles. Walls are about 15 feet tall, 4 foot thick, and he rebuilds those in 52 days. Last week, we went over, they had a big revival. 50,000 people showed up for a 6-hour sermon. I'm praying about it still. It's not going to happen today, but I'm praying about it. They showed up for a 6-hour sermon. Revival broke out, 50,000 people on their faces in the dust, crying, repenting of their sins, and then they went home and barbecued. It's in the Bible. It's there. I can show you if you have a question. They went home and had a great party and they barbecued. So that's what we're picking up today in chapter 8, starting in verse 13. Y'all ready for this? I don't think I'm going to scream today. I don't have anything to scream about. If you were here last week, I'm sorry, I got excited. But I don't think I'm going to have to scream today. It's going to be good. Alright, on the second day of the month, the head of all the families, along with the priests and the Levites, gathered around Ezra the scribe to give attention to the word of the law. Let's start there. On the second day, basically they just sat through a 6-hour sermon. All right, this is going to go away. They just sat through a 6-hour sermon, and they came back for more. All right? And I love this because when revival breaks out in a community, when revival breaks out in the city, the hearts of people get turned away from what they're worshiping and get turned towards God. All right? They just had a 6-hour sermon. Now they're having a men's retreat. All right? Because all the men, if you notice on the second day, all the heads of the family's house, along with the priests, Levites, gathered around this scribe to give attention to the word of the law. That turning and that convicting that they felt the day before, all the guys and all the heads of their households looked around and said, all right, we're messed up. We don't know what's going on. Help. And they didn't have anywhere to turn. And it's not much different from today, right, guys? The first portion of this section, the first section of the sermons are for the men. So just get ready. Ladies, I'm going to get them going in a minute. But the first section of the sermon is for the men. And I understand some people this is going to hurt because we didn't have good dads. But realize that the one true God is Jesus. He's our God. Okay? Realize that. So these guys, they all look at their lives and God has burdened their hearts and realize that they are just jacked. They don't know where to do. They don't know where to turn. They open up the men's magazines and they're really written for boys because just like today in Jerusalem 2000, guys were just jacked. Guys are just messed up. If you look around this world today, and as a man, try to be a man that emulates the world, you are so far from Scripture that you can't even reach out and touch it. Okay? Literally, as I was going through this sermon this week, I turned on the TV. And literally, you watch the men's channels like Spike and ESPN and stuff like that. And really and truly, that's made for a 7-year-old boy. Because it teaches you not how to be a man. It does not teach you how to raise a family, how to turn your heart to become a man that worships God and loves your family, that raises children, and becomes a productive member of society. It's funny because like on TV, even if you open up like men's fitness and stuff like that, they're hard enough for children. They're hard enough for their wives. So how many girlfriends you can have, and how to pick up girls at a bar. That's every magazine I looked at this week because I'm like, for real, there's got to be one good one, right? If you know one, let me know because I didn't find it. I don't even to a magazine back one day. I just kind of, the magazine back 22 years old, getting a vasectomy. I don't want children because they're a waste. Dude, I've adopted my daughter, I've got a son, and I've got a daughter on the way. Let me tell you something. If my son ever acted like that, I took him in this world, I think I'm going to take him out. You know what I'm saying? Grow up to be a man. Grow up to have responsibility. These guys show up to Ezra and they look around and God has burdened their heart, changed their heart. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to look. And Ezra opens the book. And even in those days, they had the first 5 books of the Bible, is what they were reading. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, and Numbers. Let me tell you something. You want to learn how to be a man, you want to learn how to raise your family, read Leviticus, guys. Read Leviticus. It teaches you how to be a man. It teaches you how to love God. It teaches you how to love children and how to respect women. Okay? It's there. They're there. And they're hungry. Ezra has this men's conference, and he teaches, and he opens the Word, and the men's heart for their families are turning. They're trying to go back to their family. They're trying to do right. Guys, I call this to you today. You've come from bad families, or you've come from a good family. But realize this, the actions you take with your children will affect generations to come. That's one of the problems is we don't think generationally in this country. We don't think of 3-4 generations down the line. There's not a man in this church I don't want to see in heaven one day and have his great-great-great-grandkids show up to him and say, this is your son's